Did you even know that you need to set boundaries with your family? Is that really a thing?
This is the Lenora Faye Show.
Hello, and welcome to this episode called Boundaries. Protect your peace or lose it. There are going to be several parts to this boundaries episode. This particular one is about setting boundaries with family. Is it important? Do we have to do it? The answer is yes. How do we do it? Well, that is up to you. I'm just going to share my experience. I am your favorite podcast host, Lenora Faye. And speaking of favorites, you can head over to my Instagram. I am Lenora Faye at I am Lenora Faye and join the favorites, which is a up and coming group for podcast listeners of this show. Play on my name, the Canadian spelling, I should say. If you're American, there'll be a lot of Canadian versus US spelling, I think, in as we progress. So I will say, first of all, that the parent I'm going to refer to most in this episode is my father, as he is my only living parent. At present day, we are good. I still have to send him the yearly reminder of, Dad, please do not put me in any group chats under any circumstances. The ones with me and my brother and my dad's wife, that is good enough. I do not need to be updated on every family member that has ever existed and friend that has ever existed. I don't need to be in group text chains. So aside from that yearly reminder, my dad and I are pretty good. But I'm going to refer to some times where we weren't and how I navigated through that time. Because as I have lived this long and interesting life and have met many wonderful people, we all have these things in common called families, and some require more boundaries than others. So, speaking of, a few months ago, I did an Instagram poll and asked where people struggle the most with setting boundaries. And top of the list, 52% said family. So we're going to start with that. Is it necessary? Oh my gosh, yes, it is. How do we do it? Like I said, it's up to you. It's up to you. But this is a conversation that I've been having with my female friends who are, for the most part, child free. I have a few close friends who do have children, but my main group of people in my life are people that do not have children. And it's interesting because we do talk about, you know, families a lot and dealing with our family. And by that, it's siblings, it is parents, it is, cousins, and or people, really people that have been very instrumental in raising you or in life. My situation is actually pretty simple because it's when I think of my family, it's my brother and my two nephews and my dad and his wife because my mom passed away years and years ago. So it's relatively small. I don't have, like, I actually have a large extended family on my dad's side, and but none of them, no one I really interact with on a regular basis. So I don't feel like the boundary conversation will go that far. So I will use again my dad, who, to my knowledge, does not watch this show. His wife might, but and that's okay. If she feels she needs to tell anything to him, she can. He is aware of what I do though. I think. I don't know. Do dads know about podcasting? He still thinks I blog, which is no, I don't. I don't. So I'm gonna start off with the most challenging experience I ever had setting boundaries. And going into the reason why. So this was about 20 years ago, and this was significant. Um, I'll start with what happened or what the result was. I didn't speak with my dad for 5 years, like no contact whatsoever. That was the most extreme boundary I have ever set. And what made me come to that decision, and actually it wasn't a hard decision because I am not someone that ever felt close to my parents. Not naturally. I feel a close bond naturally with my brother, who is younger than I am, but I never felt a close connection to my parents. And my mother died shortly after my 22nd birthday. And during that time, navigating my dad, like I wasn't living at home. I had my own life. I was teaching violin full time. I was a performer, a violinist. I had my my professional life pretty solid at that point. Didn't have much of a social life, but I was really focused on career at that time. And my mother passes, and there was this weird thing where I kind of had to stop being a daughter because my dad needed someone to talk to. And my mom had been ill for a very long time. Us children, we didn't know the extent of her illness basically until almost it was too late. And then it was too late. And so my dad had to keep a lot of things to himself because my mother did not want this out as to what she was going through. So I found myself in a situation where my dad needed someone to confide in about many things. And, being a daughter and I don't look at parents as friends, it was kind of weird. So I kind of started to be a listening ear for a short period of time and stopped being a daughter, whatever that meant. And, then I was going through my own grief. I wasn't overly close with my mom, but we were friends for the last, because I left home at 18, we could become friends, uh, to a point. And, I was young, I was 22, and I am 43 now, so that's like a whole lifetime ago. When I think about going through that, the best thing I could do was like I need to just walk away and live my life because there was a brief time where I had gone back to my childhood religion, which was intense. And then by 25, I realized I was done for good, completely agnostic at that point, and had a couple years of being a friend to my dad. And then everything was collapsing. I decided after 10 years, like I started being a professional violinist and a teacher very young. I was 15 and 25 hit and life was just really, I was questioning everything. And that's kind of the point of this show and why I share these, like my stories, because at every point in our life, we're doing the thing. We're in our career, we're being the friend, the daughter, the sister, we're showing up in our communities, and something is just feeling off. It's like I've hit all my milestones, I've hit my goals. What's going on? And I was feeling that I don't want this life. And a part of it was looking back, it was the challenge of being there for my dad, but I didn't feel like I'd had a life that I really wanted yet, even though I had my dream career as a musician, as a music teacher. But I really didn't have a life beyond that. And so I moved away because I already left home, but I was living in the area and I moved away for a bit. Didn't really explain what I was gonna do, and things started to become an issue between my dad and with my dad because I realized I was needing space. I needed to completely remove myself from a religion I was born and raised in that is it's very secretive, and you could use the C word to describe that, and I have in the past, but because I am still connected to people that are in it, I'm trying to figure out right now how to tell that story because it's a pretty intense story. How do I share all that and still realize that I know people in it. So I'm evolve as I talk about this more, I will, I'll figure out what makes me the most comfortable in sharing this. So anyway, I got to a point where I had to walk away from everything. like my teaching, family, church, my belief system, most of my possessions, all that good stuff. Well, my dad didn't understand that and I couldn't explain it to him. And, he made it clear that unless I could explain, from what I remember, if I couldn't explain things, like there wasn't really uh I want to say like there wasn't an invitation to talk to him. It wasn't quite that harsh, but to me, I realized I need to go like no contact. I don't have a plan. I have no idea what's going on with my own life, and my life has to come first. So I stopped talking to my dad, and I didn't talk to him for 5 years. I think there were a couple times when my nephews were born, at least one of them was born, that I did see him. No, my nephew, okay, when my second nephew was born, there were a couple of family things where I went and saw him, but we didn't chat. And after slowly reintegrating, we didn't hang out much. It just kind of naturally evolved. And I was totally fine with never speaking to him again because I did that to my parents before as a teenager. And now that I think about it, there have been so many times, like as a child, I did not want to speak with my parents. And with the help of a family therapist, I lived at home for a year and did not speak to my parents while I was running a teaching business in my parents' basement. So I have a history of saying, no, I'm not, I'm like, there's no communication. I can't do this. So that's the gist of it. But here's the thing. I have a good relationship with my dad where we can communicate now. And we have talked about many things that we either agree or disagree on. And it does not matter our stance, there is respect there. And I believe the reason it happened is because I took the time and the effort to myself to step away, to end contact. That's what I knew how to do at the time. And I'm so glad I did that because every time something comes up where I feel obligated to do something, and I don't come from a family that has traditions for holidays because we weren't allowed to celebrate Christmas due to religion. We didn't celebrate a lot of things. So I have no formative years of, okay, it's Thanksgiving, it's Easter, it's Halloween, it's whatever. Uh, you know, it, it doesn't really matter. I can do something or I don't have to do it or I don't have to do anything. It doesn't bother me. So I don't feel obligated to show up to anything family wise, which may be a challenge when I eventually get into a relationship with someone that does. And I will have to explain that a bit, but that'll be another podcast episode. But my point is, it was not a challenge for me. Honestly, it truly wasn't a challenge for me to step away from family. Now, I would think that this would be all I would have to say on this matter. However, I know my audience. I know there are many of you for cultural reasons that almost seems like an impossibility. So I will say this many times throughout this show that this is not a how-to. I'm not interviewing people on how to deal with things. I'm not offering advice on how to deal with things. I'm just sharing my experiences and how I navigated it. Because the point is I want you to figure out or feel like you can give yourself space, even if you don't know what to do with this right now, with family specifically, whether it's a parent or a sibling or a cousin or, whatever, niece, nephew, and you feel like you know what? Let me back up a bit. You may even feel like that you have to you want to set a boundary, but you don't think you can, or you don't even know that you need to because you're just so used to dealing with them. And that's kind of where maybe I wanted to bring this story to is that moment when you're like, wait, I don't want to interact with this person anymore, family wise, right? But because there's this expectation in society that family is everything, that family is the most important thing. And then our question we like to ask in the child for community, what does family even mean? You know? Because there are a lot of people that go, oh, family is only blood related. And a lot of us know that that is not what we consider family a lot of the time. But for the sake of this episode, let's talk about it being a blood relative or someone who raised you or someone that, in your formative years, and you are feeling the pressure to be involved with them, whether it's, obligation to show up somewhere or even if they're questioning your life choices, because that's very much a real thing. It's that moment, and you're probably old enough where I really don't want to do this, but for whatever reason, you're still showing up, you're still engaging out of obligation. And that is a tough thing to navigate. And even I had again, I don't have as tough a time, but I understand that feeling because the other day when I sent my dad a reminder because he put me in a group text with a whole bunch of aunts who I love, but I don't need update. I don't want to be a part of that. It was for nothing I was part of a conversation with. I don't know, maybe it was an accident, but I sent him a text and I said, Dad, please do not don't put me in group texts. Every year I have to send him that message. And there was a part of me that still felt like, oh, maybe it was an accident. I was trying to justify. But I'm at the age where I can say, look, I can't, please don't do this, And then if that request is not honored, then I will push the matter further. I'm not afraid to do that. Not at this point, not in this point in life. But you may not be there yet. And it may be for something far more serious. Again, for myself, back at 25 now, in case I said, because I'm thinking maybe I said I was 22 when this started. The journey started at 22 with losing one parent and then realizing, okay, my dad needs major emotional support, and I realized I was not equipped to offer that. I tried, but it didn't work very well, and I needed to figure out my own life. So by 25, I was going through a quarter life crisis, which if you have not gone through one yet, that is one of the hardest times. And I'll talk about that in another episode, or maybe I have in the past. But either way, my condolences. It's challenging. You'll get through it, but it's rough. It's rough. And then you go through another one later. But every time you go through a crisis, generally you have a few more tools to navigate. So and you freak out slightly less, but it's not easy. So again, if you've gone through your quarter life crisis, you probably know what I'm talking about. Where the identity you had, everything you thought was right for you, you're just going, whoa. Now, if you're over 40, there, yeah, we go through that again, harshly. Anyway, again, another episode. But again, the point is it's taking a moment right now, wherever you are in the whole boundary situation with your family, it's taking a moment to figure out, do you need to set a boundary? How do you honestly feel? Let's go there. Let's go there for a second. How do you really feel right now? If the person, if the, you know that there's someone bothering you in the back of your mind, you're kind of in defense mode, right? Now, again, whoever's listening right now, you know who I'm referring to because there will be somebody where in the back of your mind you're kind of bracing for the next interaction or you're trying to figure out how to avoid or whatever. And you know who that person is. And it's that moment because it's so easy to shove that off to the side or, gloss over and go, that's okay. I only have to see them for 3 hours. I don't have to be around them a lot, but just the thought of them makes you feel exhausted. And then after you've done the interaction, you've come home and you've maybe replayed the conversation going, oh, I should have said this. I should have said this. That is, again, very real feeling. And again, when I think back to that time in my 20s, the only thing I could truly do because I didn't know how to say anything. I did not know how to say anything to my dad especially when it came to walking away from a childhood religion that my dad is so invested in that community, even to this day. But at the time, it was very wrong to leave. And I didn't realize that's what was going to happen, but it happened really quick for me. I saw a way out and I took it, but I couldn't explain that to my dad. And that's the thing, especially with parents. Like a lot of times we don't feel like we can actually say to our parents, I don't want to do this, or this doesn't resonate with me, or this is not what's meant for me, because they don't understand it. And especially when you're a child-free person, as I am, like we've consciously chosen not to raise children. We've set that boundary and we navigate this world a little bit differently. And it's not because family isn't important. Now, to some, blood family means nothing. And I understand that and I respect that. But for those that do feel a connection and that do feel guilt and feel the obligation piece is the one that's the challenging for me. I rarely feel guilty about things, but the obligation, again, even though I'm not like fully immersed in anything, I just that I have to check myself. I'm like, well, okay, I feel obligated to do this. Uh, I'll give you an example, recent example. Father's Day. Just at the time of this recording, we've had Father's Day here in Canada. And in previous years, my brother and his children were in the area, so we'd all, generally get together at my dad's. Now, my brother and his children have moved across Canada. Canada is a very vast country. It's not like you can just hop on a plane and away you go. Well, you can, but it's not like living in Europe or wherever. Like it's just across country is a faraway place. I'm out on the western prairies here. So my brother is not. So anyway, and my dad and I happen to live in the same city, which sounds odd, but again, unless you're Canadian, it's really hard to explain that while Canada is a very large country, we don't have a lot of huge cities. We don't have, I feel like every other place in the world you can go and move to another city and be away from your family. But there are very few cities here I'd actually live in this entire country. And the one I live in is the one I can afford quite decently. And it's, 1.7 million people or something like that. So it's like one of the top cities in Canada. And there isn't a whole lot of other places for me to go at this point that are in Canada. I want to move to Palm Springs, California, but that's another topic for another day. So anyway, I currently live in the same city as my dad. And I was going, well, since I'm the only sibling here, I was feeling obligated to spend a Sunday with my father. Now, I didn't want to do that. I wasn't feeling that if we want to go deep with this, I'll be clear. There's a million reasons. Like I don't have a lot of days off. Like I'm busy. I do many other things. And Sunday is my day of rest. It's peaceful. It's a day I don't have to go to church. Not that I go to church at all. I don't. But growing up, Sunday I had to go to two church services every Sunday, and then Wednesday was another service. So as someone who's finally left that religion, Sundays are my day of rest. It's peaceful. I record podcast episodes. I do a lot of things, or I do nothing, but it does not matter. I don't plan it. It's a day for me. And I did not want to go see my dad. Not physically, because so the deeper part of that is I don't have the energy right now to entertain somebody all day or even for a few hours. I'm not like in my visiting people era. I'm really not. I'm really not. So here we are. I'm thinking, and this is how I handle this in my 40s. I was thinking, all right. I do want to celebrate my father, you know. Normally I would go if we were having my brother and my nephews there because then I wouldn't be like the focus per se. I wouldn't have to explain anything. I could just show up and bring whatever and, just listen to everyone chat and I could just be quiet. And I'm a chatty person, so that seems odd, but I am not in my here's what I'm doing. I'm not giving people updates in my life. I'm not saying, "Hey, I'm doing this. This is what happened. Don't ask me stuff. I'm not going to tell you." This is where I'm at right now. It's just, again, if you are over 40, you'll totally understand what I mean. If you're not there yet, it's coming. It's coming. So I thought, what can I do to honor my dad on Father's Day where I can show up and with great energy and I feel it will make my dad happy? So I texted my brother and I said, "Hey, do you want to do a family Zoom call?" I said, "I don't feel it." And I told him, I mean, my brother and I are very open with each other. So I have no problem sharing. I said, "I don't feel like going to see dad, but I think it'd be nice if like he could see all of our faces because he hasn't seen my brother now in a year." So I'm like, "Do you want to do that?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." So that's what we did. We had a family Zoom call and it was really nice. And on the day of the family Zoom call, I had a headache anyway, so I wouldn't have been going anywhere. And my dad had a cold. So it was great. We were all in our houses and I saw my dad's cats and my dad's wife, who's very lovely, and we all chatted and it was good. And so I share that story because I recognized I can't bring that energy to show up and be the daughter on Father's Day the way my dad would probably think I would. Not because he would expect it, but that's how he knows me. And you just go phases in life where you're just not, you're evolving. You're not the same person you were a few years ago, right? None of us are, if we're really honest about it, and nor do we want to be. So so it was good because my dad was happy he got to hear everybody's voice, see everyone's faces, and we got to laugh and whatever and talk about stuff, and I was comfortable in my house here, and like it was nice. And dad was satisfied, and besides he would have had a cold, he had a cold that day, and it's not like he would want a lot of people, it would not be a good idea for a lot of people to be around anyway, so it all worked out. But I think the moral of the story is when you realize that the boundaries are necessary and you don't but you don't know how to start that, you just got to be honest with yourself first. Because like I said, I can't tell you how to set boundaries with people. We're gonna talk about workplace and social in the next episodes because those were the other ones on the list. But family was the 52% result as of my from my survey on Instagram. 52% of you guys said that you struggled the most with setting boundaries with family because there's such an obligation. Oh my gosh, there's such an obligation. And I really, really wish that society would stop. I mean, we talk about pronatalism, again, I'm not active in the child free community anymore the way I used to be. I'll always advocate for it. And in this show, I will talk about, various child-free things, but there will always be an element of child-free in every episode because I am a child-free woman and we do operate from a different place, different energy. And those of us who are child-free generally have a stronger stance on we need to have space from family for a reason. Not because well, some families are bad, I'm not saying mine is. But for your own peace of mind, for your own sanity, if you are feeling that sense of obligation and you're acting from the sense of obligation, my opinion, if I do that, it's not really from a true place. Let's say I decided to go show up, to my dad's because I felt obligated to. I'd be exhausted, and quite honestly, I'd be grumpy, and I would try my best not to be. But at this point, I don't hide my feelings. I try to figure out what's the best way for me to honor somebody or to show up for somebody or be there for somebody in whatever way they feel they need it, but in a way that's not going to completely drain me and pull me away from other things that are equally or maybe slightly more important. And I'm not saying that everything has to be more important than family, but let's be honest, sometimes it is, or maybe all the time it is. It really doesn't matter. And I think that honestly, that's why I like to talk about these things because it's hard for people to be real about this. And if you're watching this, I'm guessing that you feel a lot of obligation when it comes to family and you don't know how to deal with it, or you do to a point, but you want to keep working on it. So all I'm doing here is just encouraging you to keep working on finding a way where you can navigate the boundary thing. Recognize just to yourself, you don't have to tell anybody else that you're setting boundaries. just tell it to yourself first because that's where ideas come, right? Because again, people can offer suggestions and advice and opinions, and sometimes you can't tell people that you're struggling with that, you know? And so I'll just say if that is a challenge, which at least 52% of you that were on that Instagram poll say it is, you know, just sit with yourself for a second and go, all right, what do I feel comfortable doing when it comes to family and showing up? Like what's the problem? What's bothering me? Find out what's bothering you. You don't have to tell anybody anything, but start with just talking to yourself about it. Because I am happy that now my dad and I have a good relationship. Again, boundaries are in place. I don't run things by him. I see him not all the time. I make an effort to like we have family day here in Alberta in the Canadian prairies. It's in February. And I that was it. That was a Monday holiday and I had nothing planned and I had actually I had come off of a 2-day bachelorette party. Not my own bachelorette party, but somebody else's. And so and I had let myself have some fun. So that Monday was like recovery day. But I made a point to let my dad know that I would stop by and spend some time with them because I felt I could do that. And I did, you know. Um and the prior Christmas, because it was the last, and again, I didn't grow up celebrating Christmas, so I've never felt obligation to do anything for Christmas. My Christmas tree is up year round, no joke. Um, because I never got to have one as a kid. But this was the first year that I actually went to my dad's on Christmas Day, and also Christmas was my mom's birthday. So again, another podcast episode for another day. But I decided to do that, and after spending it, and it was a great time. But I realized that Christmas Day, I like being by myself. Or if I'm seeing somebody that year and we decide to have a nice romantic Christmas Day in, just because it's the two of us, I've done that too. But I don't like to do anything with family necessarily on Christmas Day because I don't celebrate it that way. I never did as a kid, and it's a peaceful day that I want to just kind of be by myself. So this year I'm not going to do that, you know? Fingers crossed that I am seeing somebody that we will have like a fun romantic Christmas day. I'm open for that. But other than that, I'm not gonna do a family Christmas thing because I don't want to. And I'm not afraid to say that if I have to. So I think I'll end it there. And I hope that you just give yourself some time to think about how you would like to show up with the family member or family members that are bothering you or that you feel or that you need to set boundaries with. It's not easy. It's often complicated. Again, society and family like to pressure that they are the most important thing. And there is some truth to that, but there is also truth to boundaries need to be set, you know? And if you don't feel like you're being listened to by your family, it's again, I have no solution for that, and I'm not here to offer solutions. But sometimes you just need to look at that and say it to yourself, like, I'm not okay with this. I'm not okay with this. What can I do? I do that. That's the advice I'll offer. Say that to yourself. Write it down. Just acknowledge it. Just acknowledge it and then see what happens. All right. So, that will be the end for this episode of Boundaries, Protect Your Peace or Lose It, Family Edition. There will be some more episodes coming regarding different boundary setting in the workplace and other things. But for now, we will end it here. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you can. I am at Lenore. No, this is confusing to say. My Instagram handle is at I am Lenora Faye. And then you'll see the group, the favorites. I'll put it on. If you're watching this, you'll see. I'll spell it out for you because it's a play on my name. Therefore, I'm allowed to say I am your favorite podcast host, Lenora Faye, because when you see it spelled, you'll get it. If you are listening to this on Spotify, Apple, or any other place, there should be links below where you can join if you feel so inclined. You can also please like, share, and subscribe. and we are going to grow this show. I have a specific vision for it. Again, this will be a solo podcast. I will not be interviewing people. I will not have co-hosts. And I am going to be using my personal life experiences to talk about the subjects that we all go through. Whether you are female, male, non-binary, wherever you come from in the world, however you identify, I'm a walking multi-demographic myself. So there's a lot of things I have to say about a lot of different things. But the whole point is to give space to think and to explore what's beyond your current life, because that's very much where I'm at. And I've always been like that. And I share because it's just an open invitation for you to look at yourself, and not that you have to fix anything, but you know that there's other things you want to do in life. And you sometimes need to work through stuff to give yourself permission. And so I hope that, I can entertain you and inspire you to look at what you want to do, and you'll be able to figure it out. So, with that, I will end the show. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll chat again soon.